And so category one is problem identification and analysis. What do you know? Okay, we know that a teacher has been faced with a threat that has made her very frightened. So frightened, in fact, that she was elected to stay the night at her mom's house. The teacher's teaching style has been called into question and is at the root cause of the problem. The students are very competitive and her class is very difficult. The teacher has not been able to adjust her teaching style and practices. So this is something else that we know. We know that the administration has suggested that she do this, and she has not been able to. Okay, the next thing that we need to know, or what we do know, is that we need to properly assess the validity of the threat in order to handle this situation properly. Okay, so what do we need to know? We need to know who created the web page and sent the email. Is the threat credible or is it just a prank? What approach can we take to help the teacher adjust her teaching style? It's obvious that we need to do something beyond just asking her to do so. Okay, category one, the problem. The root cause of the problem is that the teacher is not able to adjust her teaching style to match what is expected at the school. We do not, and so that's the root cause. We don't know if the threat is real. If the threat is not real, then we're faced with correcting behavior where a student does not understand the significance and effect of internet communications. And so, even though they shouldn't have known better, this is probably one of the factors. And also, part of the problem is to know how should the administrator effectively deal with these problems in a transparent way of doing it fairly and ensuring that the future social culture at the school will rule out such situations. So the plan of action is number one is find out who made the website. Okay, she said it was Randy Franks. So that night, as the administrator, I would call Randy and I'd ask him if he knows who is responsible. If he admits to doing it, then I would tell him to take it down right away, and that he needs to report to my office 1 hour before school starts on Monday. Okay, this really helps to calm down the situation. If he has the foresight to admit it, that means that he knows he did something wrong, and it's going to make this process much easier. And actually, it would. It's not part of the case study, but how difficult it is to find out who did it, and if they lied about it, that would actually also be part of the assessment on how we are going to punish the student. But since we don't know that, we're just basically going to say that we have figured out right away who did it. If he does not admit it or say who's responsible, then we would initiate a request to seek the origin of the email so that we can figure out who did it. Okay, when the students are identified, we evaluate the threat. We check school and police records to see if the students have a history of violent behavior. I don't know how integrated school records and police records are, but if they're not integrated much at all, then we may have to get the police department involved. And I'm not too worried about that for the success of the student, because it's only an inquiry. If anything goes on the police record, then it will be off the record because they're juveniles, so it's not something that's going to follow them. So it is an equitable course of action. If there is no record of violent behavior, then I would arrange for a formal meeting with the parents and the students to meet with Ms. Walker and to discuss the problem, and for the parents and the student or students to give her a formal apology. The responsible students will be subject, and this is if they just said it right away, they would be subject to 1 month of after school detention, and they would be transferred to a different class. If there is a history of violent behavior, well, this is completely different. The one thing that we cannot have is violence at school. It completely goes against anything that would promote the success of the students or the learning environment. And there should also already be some sort of policy in place for threatening teachers. and so this policy would be followed up to and including taking the children out of, or the students out of school and putting them into like a special school for students who are having trouble being problems in class, or are having troubles like this. And so the correction of Miss Walker's teaching style, how we would handle this would be a new tactic to change her teaching style. Next thing that we would try is we would arrange a mentoring program for Miss Walker. I would contact a seasoned teacher at the school who's respected by the staff and the students, and who has a great record of being effective in teaching. I would offer them 1 hour of overtime pay per day to sit in on her classes for a month, and to mentor her, to help her improve her teaching style, and to make it more equitable with other classes at the school. And then I have a school-wide solution. I would write a letter to all the teachers to inform them of the problem and how to address it with the students. This gives us a uniform story of how of what we're going to say. It takes away misinformation, and it gives us unified information to give to the students. And then I would personally that weekend create a presentation that would be and I would email it to all of the first hour teachers, and so they would all show this on the same day, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, and it would go over the realities of digital communication and how to conduct themselves online, and also maybe a few other things that we need to worry about as far as our online presence. Okay, so resolving the issues. Resolving the issues based on promoting the success of all students. Okay, so what is the best for all students? We need to educate about how to conduct themselves online, and this is something that they can bring with them into the future, which in and of itself promotes the success of all students. School-wide, the identical presentation. This adds uniformity to the understanding of the situation, and provided education for the students so that is less likely for it to happen again. So if this doesn't happen again, it's less disruptive at the school, not only for the students who may do it, but for all students who have to sit through this presentation, who have to see these consequences being enacted. It's better that this does not happen, and because it will improve the school environment not to happen. It promotes the success of all students. Okay, appropriate and visible punishment of the students involved. Okay, so this will show the students that there is a consequence for behaving like this online, and this knowledge that that there is consequences will keep them from doing it, and this will actually help them to be more successful. It will promote their success. The visible mentoring of Miss Walker. Now this is something I thought about quite a bit. At first I was thinking about doing this incognito, like having a small camera to film her classes. But then on second thought, I thought that it's okay. It's not a punishment, but with the teacher mentoring class once per day, it will be showing the students, and through the students, their parents, that the school is trying to resolve the root issue, and to make her classes more equitable, it will promote the success of all students. Okay, category 3, addressing the facts. Miss Walker's teaching style did not fit with the school. Even after asking to change her style, she failed to do so, so further action was required to promote the success of all students. Students misbehaved online is another fact. Do all students understand the gravity of their actions online? Well, in this case, they created a special web page and sent an email to Miss Walker. This obviously suggests that no, they did not understand the consequences of their behavior online. So this must be corrected, and so we need, by doing this on a school-wide basis, it is correct. It is helping to promote the success of all students. Okay, Miss Walker felt physically threatened, and so that's why a formal apology and a meeting with the parents and the students is needed to help resolve this. Moving the students to another class This isn't this will help Miss Walker, because it will alleviate awkward situations, awkward environment in the class, where it'll take any element that she may feel physically threatened out of the class, and it'll also add visibility to the consequences of the student's action. And so knowing this, all the students will see this, and this will help promote their future success, by reinforcing what has happened, what they're learning by what has happened. Okay, so now the debriefing. Okay, Miss Walker's teaching style is an ongoing issue. So I feel for her and her desire to be a demanding teacher. But the fact of the matter is that the school is a top performing school, and it performs very well without that extra level of expectation. Therefore, her expectations are out of line. She's been asked to adjust her teaching style, and she has not. And so it is still a question. Will this situation of mentoring her, will it actually help to change her teaching style, or not? That remains to be seen. Teaching of online etiquette may not have been adequate before this situation. So we need to ask, did students understand that publishing online and sending an email is somewhat similar to writing a letter and putting up flyers? The school-wide presentation, which is an immediate response to this situation, along with including education that we're going to mandate for the future, about online behavior, and we're going to put it in the curriculum. It will help to alleviate this. But there is still a question, because the internet has an impersonal and almost anonymous feel to it, and so somebody can just sit there and think they're typing into a keyboard, and that's it. And so I could see that there's a possibility for this to happen again. And so I would instigate a policy that would handle this situation if it happened again in the future. Okay, standard 5, component 1, integrity and ethical behavior. All solutions work together to show integrity and ethical behavior. Okay, so the punishment of the students show that unethical behavior will not be tolerated. The visible mentoring of Miss Walker shows that the root problem is being addressed, and the presentation and addition of online etiquette to the curriculum show that there is an effort to avoid this problem in the future. So component 2, fair, equitable, being fair, equitable, acting with dignity and respect. Okay, so students were given punishments that did not take them out of school or interfere with the scheduled classes. So though they were punished, they were treated equitable. They did have dignity by not being expelled or suspended, and we did give them respect in correlation to what they were doing, but we were fair. The action taken with Miss Walker was not a punishment. It shows that the administration is willing to help and nurture the teachers, and so that is fair because she has already been asked to do it. She has not changed. It's equitable. It does treat her with dignity, and it does respect her because it's not a punishment, and it's a mentoring between her and her mentor. The administration is not involved. The formal apology to Miss Walker was a response to restore dignity to her, and is equitable due to the level of disrespect given to her by the students. So having the students make sure they give a formal apology is not disrespecting the students, it's just giving respect back to Miss Walker. The immediate response presentation and future teaching of online etiquette, along with the addition of a formal policy, shows that all 4 of these traits are being included for future instances. Component 3, personal and professional code of ethics. The punishment of the students was made by analyzing the entire situation. There was not a zero tolerance policy. We took everything that we had information on, which the case study did not go into too many specifics as far as how we were going to dole out punishment. But from what we know, we analyzed the situation and treated it appropriately. Miss Walker was dealt with by giving her a professional development opportunity rather than being punished, and the extrapolating this issue to cover future instances shows good professional foresight.